Washington AP President Donald Trump pledged to expose his enemies during a norm-breaking political speech Friday at the Justice Department, in which he aired a litany of grievances about the criminal cases he faced and vowed retribution for what he described as the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. The speech was meant to rally support for Trump administration policies on violent crime, drugs, and illegal immigration. But it also functioned as a triumphant forum for the president to boast about having emerged legally and politically unscathed from two federal prosecutions that 1 year ago had threatened to torpedo his presidential prospects, but were dismissed after his election win last fall. Though other presidents have spoken from the Justice Department's ceremonial Great Hall, Trump's address amounted to an extraordinary display of partisan politics and personal grievance inside an institution that is meant to be blind to both. Casting himself as the country's chief law enforcement officer, a title ordinarily reserved for the Attorney General, he promised to target his perceived enemies, even as he claimed to be ending what he called the weaponization of the department. The speech marked the latest manifestation of Trump's unparalleled takeover of the department and came amid a brazen campaign of retribution already undertaken under his watch, including the firing of prosecutors who investigated him during the Biden administration and the scrutiny of thousands of FBI agents who investigated the president's supporters who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Our predecessors turned this Department of Justice into the Department of Injustice. But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over, and they are never going to come back, and never coming back, Trump said to cheers from a crowd that included local law enforcement officials, political allies, and FBI Director Kash Patel. So now, as the chief law enforcement officer in our country, I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The visit to the Justice Department, the first by Trump and the first by any president in a decade, brought him into the belly of an institution he has disparaged in searing terms for years, but won the tea he has sought to reshape by installing loyalists and members of his personal defense team in top leadership positions. The event was reminiscent of a campaign rally, with upbeat music blaring from loudspeakers before Trump entered the Great Hall. Justice Department and White House officials mingled while members of the crowd posed for selfies. The podium was flanked by large signs that read "Fighting Fentanyl in America." Also on the stage was a cardboard box that read "The Evidence." Trump's unique status as a one-time criminal defendant indicted by the department he was now addressing hung over the speech as he vented, in profane and personal terms, about investigations as far back as the Russian election interference investigation to the more recent inquiries into his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election and the hoarding of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate. He mentioned by name prosecutors who investigated him, calling them scum, and called the classified documents case against him bulls. He claimed that a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of the American government obliterated the trust and goodwill built up over generations, and said that before the department could turn the page, we must be honest about the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. We will expel the rogue actors and corrupt forces from our government. We will expose, very much expose their egregious crimes and severe misconduct, Trump said in a wide-ranging speech that touched on everything from Russia's war against Ukraine, the 2020 election, to the price of eggs. It's going to be legendary. And going to also be legendary for the people that are able to seek it out and bring justice. We will restore the scales of justice in America, and we will ensure that such abuses never happen again in our country. His claim that the Justice Department had been weaponized during the Biden administration overlooked that there were investigations during that time into Biden's mishandling of classified information and into the firearms and tax affairs of his son Hunter. And his recounting of the recent investigations into him did not mention that prosecutors had amassed what they said was substantial evidence, including that he had sought to obstruct the classified documents inquiry. When it comes to setting its agenda, the Justice Department historically takes a cue from the White House but looks to maintain its independence on individual criminal investigations. Trump has upended such norms. He encouraged specific investigations during his first term and tried to engineer the firing of Robert Mueller, the special counsel assigned to investigate ties between Russia and Trump's 2016 campaign. He also endured difficult relationships with his first two hand-picked attorneys general. Jeff Sessions was fired immediately after the 2018 midterm election, and William Barr resigned weeks after publicly disputing Trump's bogus claims of widespread fraud in the 2020 election, arriving for a second term in January fresh off a landmark Supreme Court opinion that reaffirmed the president's unshakable control of the Justice Department. Trump has appeared determined to clear from his path any potential obstacles, including by appointing Pam Bondi, the former Florida Attorney General who was part of Trump's defense team at his first impeachment trial, and Patel, another close ally, to serve as FBI director. "We all work for the greatest president in the history of our country," Bondi said Friday in introducing Trump. "We are so proud to work at the directive of Donald Trump. He will never stop fighting for us, and we will never stop fighting for him and for our country." Even before Bondi had been confirmed, the Justice Department fired department employees who served on Special Counsel Jack Smith's team, which brought the election interference and classified documents cases against Trump. Both cases were dismissed last November in line with long-standing Justice Department policy against indicting sitting presidents. Senior Justice Department officials also demanded from the FBI lists of thousands of employees who worked on investigations into the January 6, 2021, riot at the U.S. Capitol, when a mob of Trump's supporters stormed the building in an effort to halt the certification of the electoral vote, and fired prosecutors who had participated in the cases. And they've ordered the dismissal of a criminal case against New York Mayor Eric Adams, by saying the charges had handicapped the Democrats' ability to partner in the Republican administration's fight against illegal immigration.